One practice in the books.
Dave's so happy.
It was a good day.
Was a good day.
It was a good day. You did not beat me to the NovaCare Complex. You said you were going to try.
Yeah, I was down here by about 7:45, but I didn't go there till 9.
Well, I was there.
You were.
I was happy about that. I was really worried. Because I got stuck in some traffic, and I thought, oh man, he's going to beat me. I was racing, and you didn't know we were racing there, but I still won.
I didn't know. I didn't know. If I knew that, I would have floored it. But yeah, it was a good day. It was a little steamy, but not too bad.
Not too bad. And practice was only an hour and 3 minutes. So if we can't deal with that, we've really become wimps. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast. He's Reuben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. Day one of practice in the books. Talked to Nick Sirianni, Harry Roseman before, a few players after practice. Practice lasted a little over an hour. Some good work. Obviously not padded yet, but some good work still. Ones against the ones, twos against the twos mostly. We have a bunch of stuff to get to today.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's not waste. We don't need to waste any more time. We actually have stuff to talk about.
We're through that period.
Yeah. So what movie did you see this week? No, we don't have to do any of that. Just into the news. And there was some news roster stuff. Deion Kane official. They signed him. Devin Allen to the NFI list, non-football injury list. We talked about that this week or last week. Yeah.
He's got a calf
injury. He has two calves. He has a
could be a while.
Yeah, I don't know. The NFI is basically the same rules as the PUP, except I think technically they can not pay him. I don't know if the Eagles would do that, but I think that's the designation. Non-football could also be like anything before your NFL career as well. So it's anything before your NFL career, or if you get hurt running the hurdles or playing basketball, or you slip down the stairs, whatever it is, it's working out most commonly.
Right.
But we'll see how long he's out for. Not great for his chances. Probably doesn't mean a ton to the team, but he's a guy trying to make a roster. So he's out for a while. Hassan Reddick is the only guy who is not on a list but not practicing. He has a groin injury. Seems pretty minor. The team doesn't seem too worried about it.
It looks like we won't see him till next week. So
yeah, through the weekend.
Yeah. So
but they only have 2 more practices.
Right. So he'll miss 3 practices. I would think we would see him early next week.
Yeah. I saw him walking out to the field. Someone asked him how he was feeling, and he said, yeah, I'm good. It's just kind of precautionary. So that's good news. Some more good news, too. Avonte Maddox and Derek Barnett both practicing. They were limited on day one, but after not seeing them practice at OTAs, that's a good sign.
Yeah. And I don't know what's going to happen with Barnett. I don't know what his chances are of even being here through the end of camp. I think I'm not sure how much trade value he has. I'm sure they've got 4 edge rushers, so I don't know where he fits in, even if he has a great camp. But it's good. It's good that he's here. BG was great talking about him. He said he told him, look, as long as you're here, just practice as hard as you can. He said, look at my career. I was a lot better on the back end than I was. I mean, look, Derek Barnett's been a disappointment as a 14th pick in the draft. But BG's message to him is, I was a disappointment too, first 5 years of my career. So as long as you're here, just focus on every day and trying to get better and make an impact, and don't worry about the numbers and the roster, where you're going to be. Just go out and play hard and practice hard. So we'll see what happens with him. But I think Avonte is big because, when we saw him not practicing in the spring, it was a little concerning. And I mean, he didn't have this is what happens when you're in the Super Bowl. He didn't have the surgery till the end of February. So to see him out there, and he was limited, but that's, he was out there.
He did 7-on-7 drills.
He did 7-on-7, didn't do team. That was encouraging, I thought, because they need him. They really need him. Nothing against Josiah Scott, or Zach McPherson if he's really an inside guy. But Avonte's a really good slot when he's healthy, and he's missed a lot of games. I think he's missed 21 games in his career. So they need him healthy, and they need him out there.
3 separate injuries last year.
He had a hamstring. He missed a few games early. So
it's a toe injury this time, toe surgery after the season.
Right.
And Barnett, we'll see how they mix him in. Even if he's not here, I mean, he still has, I think, an NFL career ahead of him. I don't think this is I don't think if the Eagles cut him or trade him, that's it for him. I think he's going to play somewhere. We'll see. We'll see what his career holds.
But it's not a slam dunk.
No,
a guy like that doesn't. There's no locks. He's still a young guy.
He was very young when they drafted him.
He's 27. He just turned 27 3 weeks ago. So, I mean, he's still a young guy. He's 4 years younger than Matt Leo. So, yeah, he'll probably play somewhere. He's made a lot of money, and we'll see what he
Matt
wants
Leo,
to do.
that happened after our last pod.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, we should mention that.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you, but yeah, Matt Leo retired.
Yeah, Australian plumber turned defensive end.
Yeah, he made a run at it for a while. He was out there today on the practice field. It looks like he might be trying to transition into a coaching role, which is not crazy. I mean,
it's funny because he's a guy that never played football till he was 26.
Yeah, but like he also he doesn't know bad habits either.
Right.
He just knows what they taught him here. And it was always a long shot that, especially because of his age, like Jordan Mailata was a long shot, but he was young enough that you thought, okay, he has a long time to figure this out. Matt Leo just didn't have the benefit of time.
Right. He did play in college.
Mm-hmm. Iowa State.
Iowa. I think it was Iowa.
Iowa. I'm sorry.
And Arizona Western. I think he started at. But yeah, so
nice Iowa kid. State.
Iowa State?
Yeah.
It's wrong in my story. So disregard that. So yeah. Good luck to him.
Yeah. Dalton Keene got released, your guy.
My guy. Somebody tweeted to me and says, how about your 53-man roster, Rube? Like, I just threw it out there, but
we'll get to some other tight end notes.
Yeah.
In a little bit. But I have my daily practice obs. They're up on our website, and we'll kind of go through some of the observations here. I'll ask Rube what I missed. I'll get his take on some of the things I saw out there. We'll start with some depth chart stuff. The first note on offense is Cam Jurgens at right guard, which we anticipated, but Nick Sirianni made it seem like that really is his job to lose.
He did, but he also, the way he said it was kind of weird. He's like, well, we'll start out with Cam and see how it goes. I mean, it's his job. Maybe they don't want him feeling too comfortable. That could be it. But,
well, I also think like if he's clearly not ready, they wouldn't hesitate to throw Steen in there.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree with that. But and look, he hasn't played much, and it's like we kind of just assume Stallings his coach, how he drafted him, he's going to be great. But a lot goes into that. So
yeah, and just from the body prototype perspective, he isn't like he's a center-sized guy trying to play guard. Maybe a little bigger. I know he was trying to put on some weight. It was tough to tell today without pads, but maybe a little bigger. I want to ask him about that if he was able to put on some weight. And Steen is a good option still.
Yeah.
Like it's not a bad option. They really have three options for that job.
Driscoll still functional.
Who's played there.
Yeah.
And you could even throw Sua in the mix.
Sure.
Sua's played guard in the NFL.
Yeah.
So plenty of options there. Cam Jurgens is going to get the first crack at it. Steen, by the way, was working with the second team at right guard. Some other offensive line depth chart stuff. I don't even know if I put all this in here. Brett Toth working at second team center behind Kelsey. Someone's got to take that. It was Jurgens, obviously, last year until he got bumped up to first team when Jason got hurt. Left tackle in offensive line drills. Second left tackle was Dennis Kelly. He was third team in team drills, but he's also got here a few days ago. So
yesterday.
I'm assuming he will be eventually bumped up to second team left tackle. Drake Driscoll working in the second team right tackle.
Yeah, and I think the Dennis Kelly move is really underrated. I mean, guy who's played 100 games. He's been in the league 12 years. Started a bunch of games here and there. Never really been. I think he was a full-time starter 1 or 2 years. But
Tennessee.
Yeah, in Tennessee, he's played in playoff games. And it's another guy that, I mean, Howie Roseman loves bringing guys back who he's had before. And he talked about how we know what kind of person he is. We know, what kind of worker he is. So you have a little extra insight into.
And Stout knows him too. That's the benefit of having a position coach here for that long.
Yeah. Stout coached him for several years.
Yeah. Which is, that doesn't happen many places.
He was, I guess he coached, Kelly was here for all three of Chip's years, right? So
yeah.
Because the trade was in August of 16.
Yeah, so it was that summer.
Yeah, so Stout coached him 3 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's huge.
Yep. So that's their top receivers, obviously AJ, Devontae.
Surprised at that.
Quez, and then Olamide Zaccheaus did work in a little bit.
Yeah, not surprising that Quez would start out there.
No. Quarterbacks, the top two. The third string quarterback, we did see a rotation between Ian Book and Tanner McKee.
Yeah, and I guess that's not too surprising.
No, but it does mean there are limited reps for both of them.
Right.
Because sometimes you even cycle over third team altogether.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think we'll see, once we get going, we won't see a ton of them, but
Tanner McKee threw more passes today than Carson Strong threw
in his entire Eagles career.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he made some good throws.
Good throws.
Couple
there were
mistakes.
some mistakes.
Yeah.
I saw some decent signs from him, though.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, there's a lot to like there.
Thought he had a better day than Mariota.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Maybe he'll be number 2 when he show up on Friday.
I doubt that. Defense. We'll flip to defense, go some depth chart notes there. First team safeties, Reed Blankenship, Terrell Edmonds. Second team, Kayvon Wallace, Justin Evans. Third team, Sidney Brown, Tristan McCullum. Any surprise that Sidney's starting off with the third team?
A little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is, I think we're going to see this with younger guys. I mean, same thing with Ringo. I think they're just going to bring him along slowly. Even I think we all understand that Jalen Carter is going to be a starter, but he wasn't with the ones. So yeah. I think they're just going to bring these rookies along slowly. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No.
I don't think it speaks poorly of Ringo and or Carter or Sidney Brown. So, it'll be interesting to watch because I would hope that by 2 weeks in, they're getting some reps, with the twos at least.
Yeah.
But not surprising, not disappointing.
Yeah. First team linebackers, Nakobe Dean, Nicholas Morrow. But then we saw Christian Ellis working a little bit.
We did, and make another play. Every day he makes a play, and he's going to keep working in there if he keeps doing that. I thought Nicholas Moore actually had a good day. I thought he did some good things. He moves really well, I thought. He's
fast. We'll see when the pads go on what it looks like. I didn't see much from him either way, honestly.
Yeah, I thought he was quick and around the ball a couple times. But I think it's going to be hard to keep Ellis. I mean, look, it could be a thing where we're sitting here in November and we're saying, remember when Christian Ellis was doing? Because, until the pads go on, you just don't know. It's a different sport, but he's definitely opening some eyes, getting some attention.
Hard not to. We've seen 3 practices in spring and summer, and he's had an interception in all 3.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
at least from our perspective, it's tough. Now, maybe he was awful in the 4 other days at OTA practices we didn't see, but based on what we've seen, he's just making plays.
Yeah. Yeah, he's quick.
Some of that's luck, too. It's like the ball gets thrown to him.
Yeah, some of it.
Yeah.
He's pretty athletic. Even with the ball in his hands, he seems like he moves well. Yeah.
D-line, we saw, like you mentioned, Jalen Carter was not with the ones. It was Milton Williams, Jordan Davis, Fletcher Cox inside. Then outside, Josh Sweat at the right edge position, Brandon Graham at left. And then they did work Nolan Smith in a little bit, probably limiting BG snaps as big a reason as any other that Nolan Smith was out there. But I thought Nolan looked really quick, too.
Yeah, I thought he did, too. And, Lane has some nice things to say about Nolan and his quickness. Said, he really gets your attention as a young guy coming in.
Yeah, fair enough. Zach McPherson was first team nickel without Avonte Maddox. Eventually, Josiah Scott took some of those, but I think that's noteworthy that just because Josiah was not practicing in the spring, so we didn't know the pecking order there.
Right.
But we saw McPherson now as really the second inside guy. So it looks like Josiah Scott might be on the outside of a roster spot at this point.
Yeah, I think that's something we speculated on. And I think my take was that it doesn't augur well for Zach McPherson that they're moving him from outside to inside. Mm-hmm. But the fact that he got some reps today probably is an indication I was wrong.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Because Josiah, because they always show deference to guys who have been here or guys who have played the position. And Josiah started games last year at the nickel, and they had McPherson ahead of him.
Yeah.
Corners, obviously, Slay and Bradbury. Second team was Greedy Williams and Josh Jobe, who might be fighting for one spot.
Right.
And then Keely Ringo with the threes.
Yeah, I would say it's the same as Sidney. Mm-hmm. It's okay if he's with the threes now, but
Yeah,
by
eventually.
mid-August, you hope he's with the twos.
Yeah, I think that's certainly fair. All right, want to move on a little bit?
Where'd you get that NBC cap, by the way?
I've had it.
I need one of those.
I've had it for years.
Okay. You have another one?
I do not. Now I'm going to tag this one.
I'm not going to steal your cap, Dave.
All right, we'll move on. Nick Sirianni today. Fired up.
Yeah.
He saw some sloppiness.
Yeah.
He was not happy about it. A bunch of pre-snap penalties on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
The offense first, and then the defense, and he really let the defense have it. He was yelling toward that sideline, yelling toward Sean Desai a little bit.
He was.
He had a megaphone. It was really
bullhorn,
fun.
yeah, megaphone.
What's the difference?
Oh,
I called it a megaphone.
A megaphone. It's the shape of the cone. I don't know the difference.
Oh,
Dave.
I thought you were serious.
I was trying to think of something. Maybe a megaphone has batteries. A bullhorn is just a natural amplifier.
Looking it up.
Dave's looking it up. I'll just sit here while Dave looks up the difference between a bullhorn and a megaphone. We're just waiting for Dave to come up.
Oh, no, you're right. Bullhorns are electronic.
Yeah.
So I was wrong.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't wrong. I wasn't as specific as I needed to be. But anyway.
Well, I was wrong about Zach McPherson, and I was right about bullhorns. So I'm a 50-50.
He had one, didn't need it. I mean, he was yelling so loud. He was louder without it.
Let me ask you a question. And it was sloppy. I mean, I think there was two plays in a row where back in the huddle.
Just pre-snap penalties.
Yeah.
Which is like that drives coaches nuts more than anything in the world.
I also think he was gonna set the tone for practice, for camp. If the first sign that he saw something, he was gonna go off, I think. I don't
know if it's that calculated.
I think it is.
Okay.
I think, look, I got a team that, and we've been preaching, forget last year, forget the Super Bowl, forget everything we did. You got to earn it every day. It starts here. But I think, if these guys hear him going off like that, I think it really hits home. And it did. A lot of players commented on it. And I think, I don't know if he was going to do it no matter what. I mean, if they had a really clean practice, he wouldn't have had the opportunity. But I think in his mind coming in, look, we've been around Nick long enough to know how he thinks. And I think he had his mind made up. If the first sign of sloppiness, he was going to let him.
You might be right about that. I think, though, that like when you see back-to-back pre-snap penalties, something snaps in the coach.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think he was a reach for him to do it. I think it was the perfect time to do it, and I like that he did it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Gets guys' attention when the coach, because he doesn't do a ton of that.
Back, gosh, you know who his target is? Joseph Ngata, the rookie from Clemson. Yelled at him again. We saw him yell at him in OTAs.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a bad sign.
You're saying he wouldn't waste his breath if he didn't like the player?
Yeah. Yelling at a third string receiver who's a bubble guy,
maybe,
who's, clearly on the outside looking in. You're yelling at that guy. It means you at least see something in him.
Yeah. He also let I think it was Janarius Robinson jumped offside. It was like a classic, like, I don't want to say Derek Barnett penalty, but I mean he was on the offensive side, and he let him have a pretty good there too. But,
yeah, he certainly did. But I thought that was a good sign from Nick, kind of.
I liked it.
Yeah, showing a little fire. My next observation, I'm really just running down the list of what I wrote, but please go read it too, or at least click on it for me in a little bit. Dallas Goedert had a big day.
He did.
And he sometimes gets forgotten because of how good AJ and Devontae are, and Jalen gets a ton of headlines, but Dallas has just been consistently good. And we saw this last year in training camp. Him and Jalen Hurts have just a great rapport. Like Jalen throws to Dallas just an absolute ton.
Yeah. I think there was the connection there. I mean, he just has such a good feel for where Dallas is going to be. I mean, I think he has that with all the guys, but it's definitely next level with Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
I think Dallas could catch 100 balls this year.
Yeah, it's not crazy.
Yeah.
Got to stay healthy, obviously. But
yeah, it's big for him.
You mentioned we did a little hit after practice. You mentioned the one throw, Jalen kind of rolling and throwing to Goedert. That was an impressive play.
That was my favorite play practice today.
Yeah.
So Jalen was rolling out to his left. I thought he was going to run. He was kind of moving in slow motion like he does. Just if you're a defender, you don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Is he going to throw it? Is he going to run? You just and he had plenty of room to run, but I loved seeing him kind of cross his body to Goedert in the end zone. I forget who was covering him. I scribbled it down somewhere, but that was a really sweet throw. And it just kind of shows you the what's the word for it? The connection. There's a word, symbiotic connection that they have together. Yeah. It's huge.
And the cool thing about the throw was the arm angle for me. Yeah. Because like Jalen has that in his tool bag, like the former baseball player in him. Like he can throw from different arm angles, and it's something that's like it used to just be a no-no for quarterbacks. Like keep your normal throwing motion, but like honestly, Patrick Mahomes has changed it. Like he practices these different arm angles, and Jalen has that at times a little bit. And it's just a way to, especially for Jalen on the run, because like the window is going to look different when he's out of the pocket as opposed to like just standing in a clean pocket. So if he has that ability to change his arm angle a little bit and kind of
and still be accurate
because he has the arm strength to thread the needle too. So like that was an encouraging part of it for me as well.
Yeah, agree.
Punter battle.
Yeah.
Who's ahead?
Zentner's ahead.
You think so?
Yeah.
I would have Siposs slightly ahead today. There was one kind of a shank punt from Zentner.
He had one really bad one, the one to the left.
Yeah. I didn't think Siposs had a shank. But I thought that like when they were both...
I'm still holding the Super Bowl against Siposs, so.
I get it. I was just watching today.
Okay.
But they also both boomed them. Yeah. I mean, Zentner was very good.
He was a lot better than what we saw.
Yeah. After we saw him a couple days at OTAs, you're like, I hope he gets better in training camp. So this is a real competition. I think it is.
I think he's learned the playbook. He's really a lot more comfortable. He's learned the terminology. Kick. Siposs, but Siposs, if it's just based on training camp, Siposs is going to win because conditions are good. There's nothing at stake. I mean, he's got a strong leg. There's no question about that. It's what's he going to do in February, January, December, bad conditions, high leverage, fourth quarter. I just don't know if I trust him in those situations. I don't know if I trust Ty Detmer
the rookie undrafted kid either. Yeah, it's tricky. And it's like, how do you weigh that when you're doing a competition? Because you don't like you have a knowledge at least of what Siposs is probably going to do in those situations, but we don't know what the rookie's going to do.
Right.
Punt returners were Britton Covey, Greg Ward, Alameda, and Quez Watkins.
And one thing, I'm going to go back. I don't need to see Siposs punt at all in the preseason. I mean, we know, like he goes out to an empty link against the Ravens or like whoever the game is in Baltimore, in front of 10,000 people. He'll boom it. He'll boom in the preseason. I want to see what Zentner can do in a game.
Okay,
because I know Siposs will be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'll probably kick off a little bit too in the preseason.
Yeah.
No reason to have Jake Elliott do that.
Save his leg.
Yeah. Christian Ellis, we mentioned him earlier, had another interception. It was a throw from Marcus Mariota that was not a good throw, but
it was a terrible throw, really.
Yeah. He had a few. He had some nice throws. Yeah. He also had a really weird unforced fumble.
Yeah.
Just rolling to his right and just ball popped out. But look, he's also, I don't know if Mariota's ever going to look good in practice because his throwing motion's kind of ugly. Like I don't think it's ever going to like look good, but it doesn't mean he's going to be a bad backup quarterback.
No. Think he's better than Minshew?
I don't know. I know that Minshew had a head start in the playbook.
Yeah.
Gardner obviously in maybe a better situation for him in Indianapolis. I don't know. Like, who would you rather have?
I'd rather have Minshew.
Okay.
But I don't think it's a huge difference. I can't make any judgments based on one bad practice for Mariota. Let's see in a month.
Yeah, I mean, we did watch him last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't play bad.
Didn't play good either.
Wait, Minshew or Mariota?
Mariota.
Oh,
that's what I was saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I still think Minshew got a raw deal for that Dallas game. I thought he actually played pretty well.
Yeah, he played one good game, one bad game.
Yeah.
Made a few starts.
Yeah. Okay.
Unfortunate for him, they lost them both.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Christian Ellis, it was just he makes plays, man. He's always where he needs to be. So, like I kind of said earlier that sometimes the ball just gets thrown to him, but sometimes like when that happens, it's because you're just in the right spot,
Right.
and you deserve some of that credit. So it's a little bit of both.
Yeah. And how many times have we seen guys not make those plays? Like he had an opportunity. Sure. It's just good to see him finishing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Don't have much on Nakobe from this first practice. Right. I noticed one good run fit from him. I hope to see him flash this summer because it was a quiet summer for him a year ago, which is, and then the guys ahead of him played well enough. They won the jobs. They never looked back, and he didn't get to play. I thought it was a quiet rookie training camp for Nakobe. So I'm hoping now that he's a starter, kind of the leader of that side of the ball as the green dot. Hoping we'll see him make some splash plays this summer.
I watched him a lot, and I agree. I didn't see him really jump out. I'm not sure he had any opportunities to.
Yeah, I thought there was like one play he had to stop the run. And
what I did like, he was. I loved the communication. He was really vocal, pre-snap with everyone, with the with everyone on the field, with the other backers and the safeties and the guys up front. So that's one thing you look for.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's almost bare minimum. Like if you're the Mike linebacker, but it is important.
Yeah. I think that comes naturally to him. He seemed very comfortable that way. Yeah.
Yeah. And look, it's first day, no pads. Right. You really won't be able to tell anything about these linebackers until the pads come on. And even then, linebackers a tricky position in training camp to evaluate because they're never really, they're stud, but it's not.
Yeah. When do you think they'll pad up? Sunday?
It'll be their third practice. Yeah, probably.
All right.
I would think so.
That'll be
Sunday or Tuesday.
Yeah. Tuesday, we're halfway through camp already.
Running backs, really rotating these guys in and out. Rashad Penny kind of surprisingly got the first carry of training camp. Wouldn't have my money on that.
Yeah, I would have guessed. I would have guessed Gainwell just because he's the incumbent. Before practice, Nick talked about it, and he said, they're all going to work with those four guys, and he mentioned Trey Sermon as well, and we did see them all out there. It's a really interesting, unusual situation. Usually they'll spend the whole offseason saying we don't know, and then they line up a certain way. They're like, oh, Swift's the one, Gainwell's the one, whoever. They're all going to take turns. At some point, they're going to have to. Well, they really won't. I mean, they really won't ever have to declare a start. Somebody's going to have to be out there for the first snap of a game. That guy might not get another snap the rest of the day. So it's unusual, but it's you got some talented guys there, and it'll be fun to watch it sort itself out.
And you're kind of right that even if they had a plan, they wouldn't divulge it to us. Like if they know Swift's going to be the guy, they're going to play around like this all summer. I don't think they really know one way or the other, but even if they did, it's not like they'd be in a hurry to let everyone know.
That's true. Competitive advantage.
Yeah.
One of Nick's favorite. That's on the bingo card, right?
It is. Oh, it might be the free space. Watched all the running backs. I thought they all did some nice things.
Yeah.
Swift had a little uneven day, but we saw him catch a screen pass and
right sideline.
Yeah.
Nice play.
Burners after that. And it's an element. We've talked about throwing to the backs in general, but the screen pass specifically is an area where, man, they did it fairly well under Doug early in Doug's time. And then since then, it's become a nothing in this offense. Obviously, they had Darren Sproles early in Doug's tenure here, which helps that a little bit. Yeah. But with how athletic this offensive line is, I think there's some meat on the bone there.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And, you talk about like Juergens being undersized. Well, one thing that'll enable him to do is get out and
all these guys
get out in front of a screen. I mean, we know Kelsey could do it. We know all these guys can do it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that was encouraging. They threw to Gainwell, I think at least once, middle of the field, which was good to see. He had a couple of nice plays, but that Swift play was really encouraging. They've got to incorporate the screen game. I think they're really better suited for it now than they have been.
I agree with that. I also saw the Gainwell spin move. You see that one?
Yes.
Bottled up inside, spun it, bounced it out to the left. I'll be honest, did not know he had that in his tool belt.
Yeah, that got your attention. He's a clever player. Yeah, he's a clever back. I think he's very instinctive. that way. It was good to see.
And then Boston Scott, want to give him his props. He had a juke on poor Eli Ricks.
And we've seen him do that before.
Yeah,
We've seen
open
Boston.
field, undrafted kid in his first training camp practice. And it's a tough play. Boston just juked him out of his shoes.
Yeah, he did.
Still a good player.
He's a really good player, and it's going to be, it's going to be interesting to see how this all sorts itself out. I was just looking at Boston Scott when I was writing a story about that. This is crazy. Boston Scott in his career has 16 rushing touchdowns, plus 3 in the postseason, but 16 rushing touchdowns on 282 career carries. He's one of only 5 players in history to have that many touchdowns on that few carries. Now, obviously, most guys that have that few carries aren't very good. That's why they don't have. But still, I think he's a really good goal line back, and obviously, so is Jalen. But I like having a running back who can get you the 6 points too.
We did see some design runs for Jalen today again.
Yeah,
that's not leaving the offense.
No. What did he say? Jalen talked about that. He talked about I'm going to embrace my uniqueness or something as a player. So it's not going away.
No, certainly not. One of the last ones here, Tyree Jackson. As much as Mariota struggled a little bit, he had a beautiful pass to Tyree Jackson in the back of the end zone. And Jackson flashes. He flashes in every training camp he's been in.
Yeah. I
don't think they have a roster spot for him, but it's easy enough. It's just like you watch him in training camp and think, man, this guy might be able to play.
I know he's intriguing. He is. He's got great size.
Good body control for a guy who's 6'7".
He really does. Like, I think of the play he got hurt on when he broke his back. I mean, he showed incredible body control on that play. It was right in front of us where we were standing, and you saw it again today. There's a reason he's still here. He's an interesting guy. I don't know what you do with him, but I think he can play.
Yeah, I mean, any chance he could beat out Grant Calcaterra or Jack Stoll?
I mean, I guess it would have to be Calcaterra because, I mean, Tyree's not a blocker. He's more of
he's big.
Maybe
get in the way.
Maybe he could become one, but I don't know if you can have Calcaterra, Goedert, and Tyree. I don't know if you can do that. I think it'll come down to how good a blocker they think Jack Stoll is, I guess, because Tyree Jackson's and Jack Stoll's caught the ball and they've thrown it to him, but Tyree Jackson is a better receiver than Jack Stoll.
Yeah. I agree.
Significantly.
Last few here, just a couple of nice defensive plays. Mekhi Gardner ended practice with a pass breakup. There was the interception from Tanner McKee. Davion Taylor picked it off. I think it was Tristan McCollum got his hand in there, popped it loose. It was a bad play for McKee. He really stared down. I believe it was Swift.
It was Swift.
Yeah, he stared him down. You can't do it like that.
And he learned his lesson.
Reed Blankenship had a pass breakup. You mentioned them throwing in the middle of the field to Kenny Gainwell. That was a Reed Blankenship diving PBU.
Yeah, it was a nice play.
And thought Jalen Carter showed a little bit pass rush-wise. Thought he got through the line, at least on one play. I saw a rep. I'm going off script here. Jordan Davis had a good rep against, I believe, Suopeta. Kind of pushed him back. Now we're watching his pads, of course. Jordan Mailata threw Patrick Johnson to the ground on the same play a couple times. Jordan's so big that even like a quick rusher like that, if they don't get around him and he gets his hands on him, it's
over. Yeah. He's big.
It's a big dude. Yeah. Did you read my stupid observation of the day?
Which one?
The one that I call a stupid observation.
I did.
Sean Bradley. He just get like this primal scream every time he enters the field.
So I got to set the tone. So we're sitting in the press box. I think it was when Nick and Howie were talking, and players are going onto the field to the right of us, maybe 15 feet away, and you hear this blood curdling scream, and Dave just goes, "Sean Bradley."
Cross them off.
It's just everyone's like, "What the hell is that?" Sean Bradley.
All right, we have some more on the other side. Catch all the sports action and more at Rivers Casino Philadelphia. Whether it's the money line or the pass line, there's something for everyone in a great sports book. Rivers Casino Philadelphia. Philly loves a winner. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. before practice, you mentioned it. We were sitting there when Sean Bradley walked out, but Nick Sirianni and a surprise appearance by Howie Roseman. He did it last year too, but got to talk to GM and head coach before the start of training camp. Anything that really stood out from that session?
Not from Howie, really. It's not a time we really need to talk to Howie. I mean, the roster's set. We'll talk to him again, final cuts. But I thought Nick, and we kind of touched on this, but Nick kind of insisting that all the backs are going to get reps with the ones, with the twos, with the threes was the most interesting thing that came out of it. He also talked about Jalen and how they're constantly – somebody asked him if, now that Jalen has this big contract, you're going to try to tell him to be more careful. And he's like, well, we always – not because of the contract, but, we always want him to be careful. But we also – he's got this incredible ability to run, and we don't want to take that away from him. But there wasn't a whole lot there. Anything jump out at you?
He was asked about the linebacker position. And
how he was. Yeah.
How he was, I should say. And – he left the door open, which he's going to do because he can't back himself into a corner. But I believe him that they're going to see what this group looks like, and they'll see if they need to add. I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but that's what they did last year at safety, and it was very evident that they needed safety help, and they went and did it. We'll see what this summer holds at linebacker. I think there's a chance we're thinking the same thing. I don't know yet. Maybe Christian Ellis will just have an interception in every practice. We'll be like, well, guess what? He's starting now. And Nakobe's your other starter. But barring that, I think there's still a good chance they add at that position.
Yeah, I do as well. Howie was asked about the whole running back thing and his big drama. Running backs feel like they're not being treated fairly. And I think we talked about this yesterday on the pod. And Howie insists that it's not an organizational philosophy not to pay running backs. And obviously it is. He's just not going to admit it. They've allocated the second fewest dollars since he became GM, the second time in 16, to running backs, and it makes sense. And that's the way the NFL is now. I read somewhere somebody said, well, it's more of teams don't run like they used to, so that's why. I looked this up in 1991. The average team had 27.3 carries. Last year was 27.2 carries. Now, there's more passes because there's more plays, but teams are running about the same as they've always run for 30 years. But
it's a lower percentage of the plays.
A slightly lower percentage, but not huge. They're just realizing that, they don't – it doesn't lead to success. So Howie says, if we like the player, we'll sign him to a second contract, we'll draft him. I don't believe him. I don't think they'll ever do it as long as he's GM.
Well, I mean, if Miles Sanders had become Christian McCaffrey, I think they'd sign him. If Miles was a truly great player, because he was a good player. I don't take anything away from Miles. He's a good player. He earned a contract. He's the only guy who got a contract, but he's not at the level of Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs. He's not at that level. If he was at that level, do you still think there's no chance they re-sign him?
I think it's a very slim chance. I don't think they would.
I think they would on a roster like this.
For what kind of money?
Big money. Maybe not big commitment long term, but big money.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't see it. I mean, they let Miles go without even trying. And I know what you're saying. And Miles he's not Josh Jacobs, but he's not that far off from Josh Jacobs.
Yes, he is.
He's not that far. Yeah, I guess he is.
Yes. Josh Jacobs is like a true game changer. I know this is not a knock on Miles, but he's not in that.
He's not in that category.
Yeah.
But I think he is a top 10 back.
Okay. Yeah. I think there's a big drop off from the top three guys to the rest.
Yeah.
Because there are so many functional players at that position where you better be really special.
But, I mean, he had almost 1,300 rushing yards, 11 touchdowns.
Yeah, but watch it.
A 5.0 average.
But watch it.
Well, I agree. But I don't see other backs every game. So all I can compare is the numbers. I don't see Josh Jacobs every week.
Yeah.
I just see what the numbers say. And they let Miles go. We're way off the script. They let Miles go so easily. It just tells me that they weren't gonna. They just aren't in that market
for that player,
for running backs. Maybe for that player. I think for any running back.
Okay,
but
I think we disagree there. I think that if they had a special player, it would be different.
Okay,
especially with a roster like this, where like you think you're going to compete, and if that's like the missing piece of the offense.
No, that's fair. And it'll be interesting because out of the 4 backs we're talking about, Gainwell's the only one who signed beyond this year.
Mm-hmm.
So if one of the other guys has a big year, say Rashad Penny stays healthy, runs for 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns and a 5.6 average, which is his career average, 5.7, I think. He's going to want some money. I don't think he's going to be here.
Yeah, I don't think any of these guys would warrant that type of contract for multiple reasons. But
yeah,
the only one that possibly could is Swift, and
Swift's only 24.
I'm not completely sold on him altogether, but
Sure.
He's the one guy who you think, okay, if he has a legitimately incredible season, maybe he's worth money. But
I don't think it's possible for any of these if they're going to rotate. None of them's going to have 1,600 yards. 2 of them combined might not have 1,600 yards. So
probably right.
Anyway, it's interesting.
Okay. Anything else from this session?
I don't think so.
With the fellas?
No.
Yeah. Don't have much there. I'm looking through my list here. No, Nick said everyone passed a conditioning test. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that I guess Fletcher talked about Jordan Davis and just how good his conditioning looked and how good he looked in the conditioning test, which is good to hear.
They were asked about the rookie class, and that they lumped them all in together and said that they're learning how to be pros, but they've been pleased with their professionalism, their commitment to conditioning. They didn't single out Jalen Carter, but that was okay. That's what they're talking about there.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt.
Just reading between the lines a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, we're almost done here. Let's wrap this up. But first, give me one guy that jumped out at you today.
I think you mentioned him in passing. Davion Taylor's a guy I really want to keep my eye on because I think he's got a chance to make the team. Just because that position, there's so many unknowns, and he has started games here. He's a really confident kid. He's around the ball. You saw him. He didn't make the play, but he got the interception on that deflected ball, and
good reaction.
Yeah, I thought so. He did. It was a bang play, and he just ended up with the ball and hung on to it. So that was a good start for him. He was a 3. He was a pretty high pick a few years ago. So a guy who's got a chance, if he keeps making plays like that, it's going to help him.
Okay. I'll give you kind of an easy answer, a star player on the team, but James Bradbury.
Had a good day. 2 tough pass breakups on Dallas Goedert, who is exceptional using his body to box out corners or linebackers, whoever else tries to stop him. JB, a big enough body himself to get in there and break up 2 passes. The one was really cool. He kind of reached, he was behind him, and he got his hand in there. It was a pass that Goedert probably feels like he should have hung on to or caught. But it was a really nice play by Bradbury.
Yeah, James Bradbury is the 110th best player, I believe, or 108th best player in the NFL, according to that
I didn't see that
NFL list. Yeah, he was left off the top 100. Good player. Yeah. Very steady Eddie player. Yeah. Just always consistent.
Yeah. Yeah. We didn't think Slay or Bradbury was coming back. So to have both of them back is huge.
Yeah. Anything else?
No.
Yeah, it was good to see everyone out there at practice today. The band's all back together.
Dave won't be able to get sleep. Now, there's no practice, just so everyone knows, no practice Thursday because the team is exhausted from 63 minutes out there. There's only, I believe, 1 instance of back-to-back practices. We only have the schedule.
Nick actually did allude to the possibility of adding practices, which I thought was
they're
weird.
Not going to add.
I don't think so. But
I asked him about that because, the schedule's even light. We haven't really talked about it. Schedule's even lighter than last year, not by a whole lot, but there's only 1 back-to-back practice. And there's one, I think after the practice at the link, they're off 2 days in a row, which is, I shouldn't say they're off because they'll have a walkthrough one of those 2 days, probably the second day, but they just don't practice very much. But you can't question it after how well it worked last year, keeping these guys off their feet. I mean, they practiced less than any Super Bowl team in history last year, and they're practicing less this year.
Yeah, and they do have walkthrough on a lot of these days. Like Thursday, we won't be there to practice. They have a walkthrough, which is closed to reporters. It kind of stinks for us. We'd love to watch it, but they're doing something.
Walkthroughs are open at Lehigh.
I would love, yeah, you know me. I'd love to watch a walkthrough.
Can you believe it's been 11 years since we were at Lehigh?
Yeah, it's been a while.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Dennis Kelly can tell you about it. He was there.
Dennis Kelly was there. Fletch was there. Kelsey. Lane was not.
Lane missed it.
Yeah, Lane missed it his first year. And obviously BG. Yeah.
Well, Hugh Douglas was there today. Jason Avant, Barrett Brooks. They all know the Lehigh days. I'm thinking everyone who played at Lehigh.
Yeah.
Some on the other side of the lines these days. All right, that's it. Let's wrap this up. If you enjoy the Eagle Eye podcast, please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, click the like button, subscribe there as well. Pods every day the Eagles practice will be with you. For Reuben, I'm Dave. This has been Eagle Eye. We will talk to you soon.